to himself, Quang gets his first win in the 3-minute portion.
And a super important one. If there's any comeback to be staged, Liem needed to win that. And he found his opportunity and went for it. Hikaru doesn't want to waste any time on the match clock, immediately resigns and goes for the next game. Now it's a 4-point deficit.
And we see a position here that I think actually just favors black ever so slightly, especially I want to say with this a4 move. So I am surprised that he allowed this. But I've seen these positions in the hands of a strong player. Sometimes you actually voluntarily move your king and then hide it on c2, which is why I found it so weird that he allowed a4, because now I don't see any advantage to not being able to castle here, Tanya. You're not hiding the king on c2, and you're just back in the center, but you can't castle.
And it's sort of like that same narrative from the start of the match, right? Where out of the opening, Hikaru seems like he's taking far too many risks and sort of getting into these less than ideal positions, regardless of what color he's playing with. But then he starts playing on Liem's clock. So right now in endgame, a lot of shuffling around with the king, trying to finish his development.
Yeah, if knight f3, we'll definitely see pawn to f6. In general, trading the dark squared bishops is actually something that Quang wants to do. So Hikaru's mainly doing this because the position's not great for him, and he's just trying to exchange pieces.
And he develops his knight. Liem at some point could push the f-pawn to f6 just to free up his own knight on d7 from the defense of e5.
Yep. Stops knight g5, defends the e-pawn. There is everything good about Quang Liem's position here. Just beautiful so far. And Hikaru he's pretty far behind. Like the a-pawn, b-pawn are being pushed, gaining space over there. This is a great start.
And the reason you say that is that despite there's a symmetrical pawn structure, it's because of what's going on the left flank, on the queen side, with Liem's pawns gaining so much space and really clamping down on white's forces there. Bishop to d3. What is... I don't even think Hikaru has the answer to that. He's just low on the clock here.
Yeah, rook to a7 played. And I think this is an idea to move over to d7 from a7. So hopeful that the bishops will exchange. Maybe the rook slides over this way. This is looking like just a position that's slowly improving, just bit by bit. And when the rooks double on the d file, Tanya, you do not want to have these pieces sitting there.
And then you're questioning, why did I play the move bishop to d3 once more? What is it even doing there? But Hikaru, he now goes into a bit of a thing trying to understand or figure out how does he free all these space problems that he's having. F4 as a break, I think that just walks into black's plan, giving away the e5 square.
Yeah, that would be very nice in general for Quang if Hikaru were to play that way. There's also the fact that the a2 pawn is hanging. You're constantly looking at a position where you'd love to just join the middle and challenge the d file. But remember, even a position where you just challenge the d file, all the rooks exchange, you could just lose an a pawn at the end of all these variations. And if you play a3, oh my goodness, the squares are just so weak there, Tanya.
With all the holes that would be created with that move, that would not be a happy one. Right now, he reroutes the knight, preempting bishop takes bishop to take that square with his own knight. And once the knight jumps to c5, perhaps just fall back with the bishop. I think this is the kind of position, Aman, you just stay. You say, yes, I've ended up in a worse endgame, but is there really something that you can make out of it? And what is the winning plan here?
Yeah, I was wondering what plan he was going to go for. Now, one of them is to play f5 with the idea that if you control the f4 square, maybe you can kick the knight out, but also understanding that there was a possibility once the knight gets there, you just want to control the squares that it can go to.
And that's the thing, once you've maximized piece placement, you have to start looking for those ideal pawn breaks, whether it'll come with b4 at some point or f5. But then that also comes with its own set of risks, especially when you're playing against a guy like Hikaru, because you have to be careful of the pawns you leave behind. Bishop c4, a check, a big idea here.
Bit of a surprising move, f5. I don't understand allowing bishop to g5 here. This seems like it could only favor Hikaru, whose pieces now all suddenly look amazing. So the move f5, I'm just going to go and say, I guess it's a mistake. I almost want to call it a blunder, just because it lets Hikaru back into the game fully. And I was looking at a move like bishop c4, did not like Hikaru's position.
Bishop c4, well, you have one retreating square for the king, and that's enough. And now the thing is that after you take, you've got knight g3 as well, attacking not one but two pawns on the board. So very surprised with this hasty decision to rush with f5 when it could have been just kept as a threat. Hikaru doesn't go for bishop takes bishop.
Yeah, I would have expected it. Even if you don't take it, I understand the move rook c1. It's safer because if he now can play the move knight to g3, you just take control of the e4 square and you feel like nothing bad can happen. You're willing to give up the bishop for the knight and just plant a piece on e4 and be ultra solid. So in some ways I understand this, and wow, that's going to be snapped off immediately with knight e4. That was I think, a pretty bad transition for Le Quang. I don't like this.
Not at all. It feels like we've headed into a classical good knight versus bad bishop endgame where the bishop's sort of struggling to get. Meanwhile, the knight on for eternity right now, and Hikaru setting up some pawn breaks, looking for them. Look at that. Rook c1, rook b1, rook a1. That's just him getting Liem low on the clock before he goes b4.
Exactly. Rook c1 followed by c4 is also happening. We're slowly going to be building up to the c4 pawn push. If that happens, then we're going to see Hikaru get the counterplay he's looking for.
And he does it instantly, as you mentioned it. It's on the board. Aman, that great call. Liem now down to his second. Rook d4 played. Hikaru's playing for the offense. He takes the file, but no infiltration squares yet.
Yeah, so he's just going to wait around. He's wondering maybe if the bishop will move and give up a square that he can make use of. You can always trade, but at this point, because of the pawns over here, I'm wondering if that's the smartest decision. Knight c3 will get him the e4 square. This is huge.
And Black King is just tied down to that left flank defending pawns, while White King has a free hand to get into the game. And this is counterplay being set up by Liem.
Yeah, do not underestimate that bishop. Even though Hikaru has a nice position here, you have to watch out for bishop c1. And I think the defense, it was going to be maybe knight b1 against it, but no, now he doesn't have to. The knight makes it to c2. And what? He hangs a bishop.
My goodness.